it's really important to remember that these are activities that have the purpose of achieving happiness, yeah? And if we cultivate and accumulate the causes through this practice in a relaxed way, right, we don't need to have any doubt that we'll be able to reach that happiness. And so in terms of today's practice, the focus will be by Saja Guru, the medicine Buddha, also known as the King of Doctors, King of Vaidurya Light. Men jinlap nang yagine sadirwa. So Geshe was saying that, you know, also so sometimes we laugh, and I guess people are wondering what's going on. So basically, Geshe is speaking about how through this practice, right, we can bless not just the vase water, but also various medicines, medicinal substances that we may be taking. And so the second half of Chöden Rinpoche's text, it's actually a text in two parts. The first is a sadhana, and the second is what's called a mendrup, a blessing medicine ritual. So I was just saying to Geshe that, you know, maybe as a translation project, I can, you know, maybe try to do that this January and get it out to folks. And then I won't be in a rush, you know, so I'll be able to have friends check with me, and then we'll get it out to people. But anyways, that's part of the practice as well. So Geshe said, you know, many holy beings, he knows at the monastery, and he's also seen them engage in this practice. Any food that they may be eating, any medicine that they may be taking, they offer and they bless in the context of this practice.
So
And so then also in terms of offering one's food and so forth, it's the advice of many holy beings that before the offering is done, it's very important to recite the Om Ahum mantra 3 times. There's great reason for this. So after reciting Om Ahum 3 times, if you then recite the prayer for offering the food, there's, you know, great blessing and reason to do it this way, according to the advice of many holy beings. So we understand that the words of this Om Ahum mantra are very powerful. They help to clear away any stains or contamination when we make the offering, and also they help to transform the ordinary substance into Amrit, into holy nectar.
And
then when ngakdang zeniga michapa jisana
Sonji machaba sertal ninen jesija mato
ale los
so macha singdio sonji machaba
ale los netsu jirwa
sonji ge shala sonji machaba
aha
ngwa ge nipa sonji machaba
okay
an jige nipa sonji machaba
okay
le ne senje ge le sonji machaba.
So Geshe is explaining that there are 4 things that the Buddha was not able to explain fully. 4 things about which the Buddha was decided not to give an explanation. So the first is that he cannot give he cannot explain to ordinary sentient beings the power of blessings. He cannot explain to ordinary sentient beings the power of mantra. He cannot explain to ordinary sentient beings the power of substances, and he cannot explain to ordinary sentient beings the profound karma of all migrating beings. So those are the 4 topics.
Deswa, Ota Tendici, Zanganzo, Zota, Koropoge, do you so get Mevazoya retina? You wouldn't Niga, Liga, Madevashia, and I say Madevashia, the Ejuota, Mevazoya, Yakachimores.
And so then also in Kare, knockdowns and so let
To me, Tanda Meladria was Melagatanga, so I had to teach you like a so do you so Tanela Supermevazoya was.
And so the blessings and the power of the medicine Buddha practice, we should understand that they are at clearing away disease, but mainly they are aimed at clearing away the disease of the three poisons, which cause all disturbances of body and mind. But also we should understand that even our sort of temporary worldly problems of this life, right, that the medicine Buddha practice can be very helpful for dealing with those as well. So some holy beings say do not sort of be just fixated on the name Medicine Buddha for healing from the illnesses of this lifetime, because Medicine Buddha can also heal the karma that would cause rebirth in the lower realms in future lifetimes. So there's a story that Geshe was remembering from his explanation about the things that were not fully explained by the Buddha, such as a Buddha's blessing or such as the power of mantra. And this has to do with a story that from the time of a Buddha, where he encountered a king, and this king was like an unvirtuous, an evil king.
So
this king invited the Buddha and some of his entourage to partake in a meal. But because he was possessed of evil intentions, he had put some poison in the meal. So the Buddha, of course, possessed clairvoyance. So he knew that the food was poisoned. And so he told the assembly of monks, don't eat the food just yet. Don't eat the food just yet. First, proclaim these words of truth. And so the words of truth in Tibetan are Jom Tsok So. So I would say that this means destroying the assembly or destroying the accumulation. So anyways, he told the assembly, before eating, recite these words, Jom Tsok So.
Yeah,
so Geshe said the Jom Tsok So is what he remembers, right? Because of course this narrative is contained within a sutra, so he has to check to make sure of the words of truth, but that's what he remembers. They were something like Jom Tsok So. And so having sort of recited those words of truth, then after that happened, the Buddha said, all right, now the assembly can eat. So Geshe said that not only did these words of truth have the power to completely clear the poison from the food that the monastics ate, but also when the remnants of that food were fed to the dogs and put into the water for the fish, none of the dogs and fish and so forth were poisoned either. Right? So Geshe said that, this is kind of a very important moment in the history of the Buddha's teaching. So he also said that, this is something we can recite when we're worried about food poisoning or something like this, these words, Jom Tsok So.
This one,
So these were, some narratives, a few stories, just to show us the reason why we need to engage in a practice such as that of medicine Buddha. So now we will take a moment to meditate and bring forth the motivation. So as much as you can, bring the body and mind into a relaxed state. So any unhelpful or disturbing feelings, thoughts, mental projection, just imagine they're like clouds in the sky that are slowly cleared away by the gentle breeze of attention. So think that having done this, then our mind becomes vast, spacious, and luminous like the cloudless sky. So, now that we have touched the clear and knowing nature of the fundamental mind, we can use it to cultivate the awareness that ourselves, others, mountains, valleys, any person or object, they do not exist in the way that they appear. There is no pinpointable, findable essence. And then from that sphere of emptiness, we imagine there arises the Pure Land, the Buddha field of medicine Buddha, where and in this Pure Land, all of the objects, including the ground, the lakes, the structures, the birds, the trees, and so forth, all of these arise through the power of the merit and the previous prayers of the medicine Buddha. And in this way, they only give rise to happiness. So then imagine that within the center of this Pure Land, on a beautifully ornamented throne, is Medicine Buddha, King of Vaidurya light. And if you like, you can imagine that he's surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
arra ishire oda tani zaji goji to ani la yo nyoja to di nona detsa coin luze.
And so we imagine that in the left hand of the medicine Buddha, in meditative equipoise mudra, there sits a bowl filled with nectar and the healing arura, the myrobalan plant, and then the other hand is in the gesture of generosity of the Dharma.
No meba minju detsa choa meba chime tse detsa soba meba yishu detsa so ta page konde yomaji.
We imagine that within this bowl, together with the medicinal plant, there are the various nectars. The nectar of freedom from illness, the nectar of deathlessness, the nectar of uncontaminated great bliss wisdom, and so forth.
Ta rodo nyondon roa ritu kanga me nombaje. Geshe shiba nye shiba ta tandi chine ta page nijiba deva nijido dembe to ta pa yo so much.
And we imagine that gazing up towards the medicine Buddha, the objects of refuge, together with us, are all 6 types of sentient beings within samsara, but possessing human form so that they can hear, so that they can see. And this vast assembly of sentient beings gazes up towards the objects of refuge with the 3 causes of the uncommon refuge: fear, faith, and great compassion.
Zuli shaba, deshi kanga te to get chele labi sha me sombi to ne rewa jaje jage to ne tapoge shasu don yo shandro.
Think these objects of refuge have the power to clear away all suffering and fear, have the power to lead us to every happiness. Go for refuge with 100% faith or confidence. So think that as much as possible, think that may myself, others, all in this vast assembly of the 6 types of sentient beings, be able to travel to the shore of enlightenment, to actualize the state of medicine Buddha together. Bring forth the captain-like, the boatman-like bodhicitta.
Shuji Java Sito Chiba, Zo Sunji Menjala Tui, Nieta Rabo Cheni Ba, Luzen Nonima, the Sir, Tachabamba Noji, Ruru Soso Shonema Shuini, Edejamiba, Tachapaino, Shuchibujuba Noji.
So then imagine that from making this request and with the positive minds that we have brought forth, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, in particular the medicine Buddha, are pleased with us. We can imagine that the nectar, possessing those 3 characteristics, those 3 types, from the medicine Buddha being pleased with us, increases exponentially and overflows. As it overflows, it falls like a steady monsoon rain upon all sentient beings, and as it enters their body and fills them, it clears away all negativities, obscurations, illnesses, and so forth.
Mugi Legni Bakandiji, Lijikani, Senjikani, Kandiji, Yapa, Minepa,
Sorry, in one part from the last piece. So as this rain and nectar fills the body, we can imagine that it's almost like a powerful stream of water in a pipe. And Geshe says, as that powerful stream of water, kind of like, very concentrated like in a pipe, as it moves through the bodies of sentient beings, we can imagine it's like a pipe that was blocked and becomes unblocked, as all the negativities, afflictions, and their imprints are cleared away. All of the training of hearing, contemplation, and meditation, we're blessed to achieve that, and we're blessed to clear away all of the physical and mental suffering we experience. So we'll pause there. Yeah, so I'm just going to make sure our sound settings are okay for the chanting. Just give me a moment. Okay, it looks like we're okay. So we are going to begin Abhilash just as we usually do with the prayers for teaching occasions. We'll recite that praise to the Buddha once, and then we'll do the mandala offering, and Geshe will lead us in refuge. Yeah, so Geshe said, no need to go slowly today, so we'll go at a good pace. Tenpa chomdende dejin cheba drachomba yandaba zobe sangye reba dang shabsu denpa dewa sheba jiden chemba shebu duwe kalo jorwa lana meba ladang mi namgi tenpa sangye chomdende pe jawa shakya tubala chaselo chede kyabsu chi ho. In the short mandala offering, Saji Pegi Juji Medo Chan Rira Linji Nide Jembadi Sangye Jindo Mede Bobagi Jokun Nanda Jinla Chepa Sho Idam Guru Ratna Mendala Kam Niryatayami. So refuge and bodhicitta. Chedon sogi chenam la jangshu badu dani kyabsu chi tagi chenyen gibe sunam gi jola penjir sangi joba sho. Chedon sogi chenam la jangshu badu dani kyabsu chi tagi chenyen gibe sunam gi jola penjir sangi joba sho. Chedon sogi chenam la jangju badu dani kyabsu chi dagi chenyen gibe sunam gi jola penche sangye joba sho. So, Drupta?
Yeah.
So we will now turn to the sadhana, dispeller of the chronic disease of the three poisons. So this is, if you joined a little bit later, I laugh, but I don't know how funny it is. This is version 3. So those extra lines of mantras have been taken out, and I've added 2 or 3 words of clarification in version 3. So we'll begin with the extensive refuge. We'll recite it once in Tibetan and once in English. Joju dusungi deshin cheba tam chegi kusun tu yenten chinle tam che chidu dube mo joba chegi pombo chonja gyashu tsaji jongne pabe gendun tam chegi nadan drinchen sawa dan juba chepe peden lama damba namla chapsu chiyo zobe sangye namla chapsu chiyo
Dambe che namla chabzu chiyo, pape gendu namla chabzu chiyo, chomden de mengi la de cheba lazo kodang cheba namla chabzu chiyo, pegun damba chokyung we suma yeshe gi chedan demba namla chabzu chiyo.
So we'll do it also indicate ma chikni. Yeah, so we'll do it once in English and then we'll move forward. Nature incorporating the entire body, speech, mind, qualities, and activity of all the Tathagatas of the 3 times and 10 directions. Source of 84,000 collections of dharmas, Lord of all Arya Sangha. I seek refuge in the kind and glorious holy root and lineage gurus. I seek refuge in the completely enlightened Lord Buddhas. I seek refuge in the holy Dharma. I seek refuge in the Arya Sangha. I seek refuge in the 8 brothers gone to bliss, the Lord Medicine Buddhas with their hosts of retinue deities. I seek refuge in the glorious holy protectors, Dharma protector guardians, endowed with the wisdom eye. So we'll do the abbreviated refuge in bodhicitta in Tibetan.
Sangye chedan sogi chenam la janchu bardu dani kyabsu chi dagi jinso giba didagi drola penche sangye droba sho sangye chedan sogi chenam la janchu bardu dani kyabsu chi dagi jinso giba didagi drola penche sangye droba sho sangye chedan sogi chenam la janchu bardu dani Kyasuji, Dagi Jinzo Jiba Didagi, Drola Benji Sangi Drobar Sho.
And now we come to the 4 immeasurables. Semiji Tambo Kyogo.
Yeah.
So we'll recite in Tibetan and then in English. Semshin Tamje Dewe Dang Dewe Gyudang Demba Joji Senshin Tangje Dunge Dang Gunge Gi Judang Jewa Joji Senshin Tangje Dunge Mebe Dewe Dang Mi Jewa Joji Senshin Tangje Nirin Jadang Nidang Jewe Tangyong La Neba Joji. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from desire for friends and hatred for enemies. So we're going to take a moment here and just bring forth the intention that I'm going to bring forth to meditate as much as possible on these 4 immeasurables. So first we'll begin with immeasurable love, and we can think that may all sentient beings, without prejudice, without differentiation, every single one of the 6 types of sentient beings, reaching space, may all of these come to possess happiness and the causes of that happiness. How wonderful if they could possess happiness and its causes. And it's really important that combined with this wish, we think that if they were able to achieve this happiness as I hope, this would bring me great joy, great happiness myself. And then we think, not only may it be so, but may they definitely achieve the complete uncontaminated happiness, untouched by suffering, uncontaminated happiness. May this be so. I pray that this is so. So this is immeasurable love with the aspect of prayer.
니가도 다주게 대시 강가도 된바다 나로 롱기 시기 소비토네 쇼바든지 말에 라소든지 쇼바.
And then the next step we think, may they achieve all temporary and ultimate happiness. I myself alone will help them achieve that happiness. This is immeasurable love combined with superior intention, the aspect of superior intention.
든지 소바 노지치다 용화치 야와 세도 지바 수지면라 조시비다 지시지라다 소 손대든지 쇼바. 야 손대든지 쇼바. 더 소마 노지치다 용화치 신지라로치.
And then we think, may I come to receive the blessings so that this wish for happiness and the causes of happiness may come forth. 진지라바 someday. And this is the immeasurable love combined with a request, solwadepa, request or supplication. So we'll pause there. Sorry, I just saw something come up. Ah. So do people, okay, so I'm just looking at the messages now, now that we're at the end of the meditation. Is the sound okay, or are people having trouble? Okay, I just noticed there's one person.
Yes.
And also just to check, if this isn't streaming, we could also record the session and we can post it later just as a backup. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Just like to check that people can hear, that's all.
다 단다 체메지요라 와스 체메진 노다 노지 소소 디세요나 체메레렌 노네 제레제레 소모토카레스.
So Geshe said we have these four immeasurables, and then when you have time to meditate on them extensively, we want to combine them with these four aspects. So each of the four immeasurables will have four aspects.
단다 쇼바 간조 쇼바를 얘는 드마든데 쇼바. 아니 하고서와
Yep.
멜로든데 쇼바.
Yep.
아니 화소든데 쇼바.
Yep.
소데든데 쇼바.
So this is the meditation that Geshe just led us through, but he's going to isolate each of its aspects. So we are meditating on immeasurable love. And so immeasurable love of the first aspect combined with an aspiration, of the second aspect combined with a prayer, of the third aspect combined with superior intention, and of the fourth aspect combined with supplication or request.
단이 가서 지시해서 임바스 컨트롤 쇼를 지체 가제 모아에는 컨트롤 되게 니빠 체르도 요아래 된 노지 단이 엠보이나요 지체 가제 모아서는 또다 건니빠 체르도 와스.
So as Geshe mentioned in the last class, right, the more we think about the reasons that we have to be angry, the more the intensity of that anger is enhanced. But it's the same with the virtuous minds that are the antidotes to anger. The more we think about the reasons for those minds, the more powerful they become.
어다 드리지래 가지고 게이쇼가 니빠 세계 예때가 니빠도 슈치르도네 강에메 와서 그 아래서
We have to get rid of our problems by bringing our mind to the direction of virtue, by bringing forth the positive mental qualities as much as possible. This is how it works.
어야 되게 진로심하다.
Listen. So we'll continue with the sadhana, and we'll do the prostration and supplication to the Eight Thatagatas in English. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine Guru, King of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do the 7-limb prayer in Tibetan because it has that nice, easy to follow Tibetan tune. Go sungu pe go ne ja ze lo nge sham ye ju je jin ma lu bo to me ne sa du dun dam je sha ke ba ge wa nam la je ram kor wa ma tum ba du le jone dro la je gi ko lo kor wa dam da zhen ge nam jan chu jem bo mo. We'll do a brief mandala. Sa ji bege je je me do ja re ja lin je ni de gen ba de sang ge jin de me de bo wa ye ro gu nan da jin la je ba sho i dam guru ratna mendala ka niryata yami. Okay, Chik Marwa.
Yeah.
So now the instantaneous self-generation. Instantly I arise in the form of medicine Buddha, king of Vaidurya light, blue in color with one face and 2 arms. Tadi Bumpa
Yeah.
Jinaparwa. So, blessing the action vase and water, visualizing that inside the action vase on a sun cushion is a hum syllable surrounded by the mantra from which light rays radiate. These draw in the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions in the form of light rays, which dissolve into the hum and mantra garland within the vase. The light rays transform into a stream of nectar that descends and dissolves into the vase water, bestowing blessings. Om Vajramrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe. So we recite this a few times. Om Vajramrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe. Om Vajramrita Kundali Hana Hum Pe. Om Vajramrita Kundali Hana Hum Pe. Om Vajramrita Kundali Hana Hum Pe. The hum syllable and mantra garland dissolve into light and merge with the water in the vase. Om Vajramrita Hum Pe. Tor. Tor Gimpe. So at this point you could sprinkle. So now the cleansing. Om Sabhava Shuddha Savadama Sabhava Shuddho Ham. Everything becomes emptiness. From emptiness arise Om syllables which melt into light. They transform into vast jeweled vessels, inside of which Ah syllables melt into light and transform into the offering substances. Clear and unobstructed, these equal the extent of space. Om Vaja Agam Pajem Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nude Shabda Ahum Swaha. So the praise is optional here, so we'll go right to the self-generation just below the praise. So we're on page 8. So I'll recite the words of the self-generation. Om Sobawa Shuddha Sawadama Sobawa Shuddho Ham. Everything becomes emptiness. From emptiness, a palm syllable arises, melts into light, and transforms into a lotus. Upon the lotus, the syllable A arises and transforms into a moon cushion, upon which your mind transforms into a blue syllable Hum, from which light rays emanate, making offerings to the holy beings and accomplishing the welfare of sentient beings. The light rays gather back into the Hum. You transform into the Bhagavan, king of medicine, with a blue body, one face, and 2 hands. Your right hand is in the mudra of giving the Dharma and holds the stem of an arura plant, the antidote to the 440 diseases. Your left hand is in the mudra of meditative equipoise, upon which sits an alms bowl filled with the nectar of deathlessness. Your holy body is adorned with the 3 Dharma robes, saffron in color. You are ornamented with the marks and signs of a Buddha. Your feet are in the Vajra posture. Your forehead is adorned with an Om, throat with an Ah, and heart with a Hum. From the seed syllable at the heart, light rays emanate, summoning the Sugatas of the 10 directions in the aspect of Buddha by Sajya Guru. Om Vajra Samaza Zahum Bam Ho. They dissolve into each other, becoming inseparable. Again, light rays emanate from the seed syllable at the heart. The empowering deities of the 5 families and their retinues are gathered together. Om Vajra Samadza. All you Tathagatas, please bestow empowerment upon me. Having thus requested, Om Vajra Bhava Abhishincha Hum. Having said this, they bestow empowerment by pouring the vase water at the crown. This fills the body and purifies stains. The excess water at the crown transforms into an Akshobhya Buddha crown ornament. So now the offerings. Om... Ale. So we'll pause here, Geshe will give some commentary. So then when we are practicing a Kriya Tantra such as this one, then meditating the self-generation combined with the 6 deities practice is really important. So Geshe wants to comment a little bit on the 6 deities practice. So think that the emptiness of my mind and the emptiness of Medicine Buddha's, King of Doctor's mind, is the same emptiness. In this way, the emptiness of our minds and eventually our minds become of one essence. So imagine that from this sphere of emptiness that we have been contemplating, that the sound of the mantra, only the sound of the mantra begins to fill this space. And we imagine that the sound of the mantra begins very gently, but gradually becomes more powerful, louder and louder, until the sound of this mantra fills all of space, penetrates all of the realms of existence.
Kale drate no ka kuat kale ye no balsi si wo shawaji.
And slowly, as this resounding sound of the mantra fills space, slowly the sound takes on a form, the form of the syllables, of the letters of the Medicine Buddha mantra.
Kumo to e kala no ka kumo aji ka kumo ka botani talale ba do ate no ji tra po ye so me le wa kumo aji no ka kumo.
You can think that as the resounding sound transforms into these letters or syllables, that the mantra garlands are like sets of snowflakes, kind of filling up space.
Kale ngwa te yonzu tani shu ji de ma te ji le to te hui le pa to ni la ani te kale yo se ji ba le ani su ji me la ta ge te no ji mo ya je son ma ji ru so
Sa ki me la ma bo so ji.
ta so ta ga wa ngwa kan ga lo shu ji de to shu ma ji
Yeah.
te hui le pa to hui te ta kale so sa bi te ya la te so ya la xie son.
So the next part of the visualization is that we imagine that all of these snowflake-like mantra garlands dissolve into each other, and finally dissolve into a hum, which stands in the center of space. And then gradually from this hum, we arise, you yourself arise as the deity Medicine Buddha.
So sunji me la shewa te yo demba me ba roji ji me ba oda me bi roji te ta tembo ji so ba ji.
And as we rise in this form of Medicine Buddha, once we have that stable, we then contemplate that even this form of Medicine Buddha is not inherently existent. It lacks true existence.
Ta te tamaji ha shajati
Ashajati. Oh, listen.
bimba ya ni mo ya ni zona
Sana.
ta nga zona chu ya na ka su ti sal zona de res
So, nga la trutin solona konso hako.
ta mo tel ta
So Geshe said that the last one, the deity of signs, the deity of mudra was not included in there. And so the deity of mudra actually involves taking the lotus mudra, and Geshe says you can do it either at like the 3 spots like we do for the crown, throat, and the heart, or you can do it at the crown, the 2 shoulders, and the 2 knees for a 5.1.
o te re ta te la tu pa te re ta te ndo ani o da de du as tombo ani tombe la dai la yege la zujala semela shajela.
So Geshe said he wants to give you the 6 deities practice. So the way they appear in the commentaries and the actual order of practice may be slightly different. If you notice a difference, that's why. So there's the deity of emptiness, the deity of sound, the deity of letters, the deity of form, the deity of signs, and finally the deity of mudra. These are the 6 deities.
o tan de du as o tan ine zon la shewa te ni de go mas al shaji li ni menja sa tu chun ko ni la she ka ni chena.
So when one is doing a self-generation practice in the 3 lower classes of Tantra, but in particular in action tantra or kriya tantra, which we're doing now, you have to arise with the contemplation of the six deities. So, of course, within these six deities, the actual deity of the deity yoga is the deity of form, right? Which is the form of medicine Buddha here. So the remaining five deities, these are like the branch practices which help to enhance and to stabilize the deity of form. So then, normally here also, connected with the emptiness deity, we would explain the two kinds of selflessness, but as this was already explained yesterday, we won't do that again. So then we've gone through the section of the sadhana dealing with the self-generation and so forth, and we talked about how the self-generation is done with the kind of underpinning of the six deities practice. And we see that within the paragraph of the self-generation, it talks about the crown marked with an om, the throat with an a, and the heart with a hum. And this is known as blessing the three places. It's good to know what those letters are doing. They are known as blessing the three places. Yeah, decent. Yep. Yeah. Right. And so, having brought in the deity yoga part, having brought forth the self-generation with this awareness of the six deities, we then do what is known as accomplishing the two purposes. And that's based on emanating the light rays. Accomplishing the purposes of making offerings to the holy beings and accomplishing the purpose of achieving the welfare of sentient beings. So to become a Buddha, we need to accumulate the collections of both merit and wisdom. And so that's why that in the sadhana, prior to the self-generation, connected with the self-generation, are the accumulations of both merit and wisdom. Sorry, right? And so then and so yeah, sorry, something I should have been able to remember, which I forgot. So my apologies. So then we have no, so then we have inviting, entering, and becoming inseparable. And so this is done, it's the practice of combining the wisdom and commitment beings, and we do this with the mantra Za Hum Bam Ho. So we invite to the crown, they enter our body, and then they dissolve into us, and we become inseparable. Listen. And so then the next part is, excuse me. So then the next part is inviting the deities for bestowing the empowerment and receiving the empowerment. So we imagine that we invite these deities and they come to the space before us and they give us empowerment. And this is actually designed to mirror the life of the Buddha. So we know that in the stories of when the Buddha was born, one of the first things that happened is that various deities gathered and they performed abhishek. They performed an empowerment of water ablution. Yeah. And so then for the empowerment, we first request the empowerment, then we invite the empowering deities to come. The empowering deities come and they perform abhishek based upon filling our body with blessed water, with a vase. As the blessed water completely fills our body, then the excess water kind of overflows on the crown, and this transforms into the Lord of the lineage. The Lord of the lineage here is Akshobhya. Yeah, so then, so now we have completed those sections of the self-generation, receiving the abhishek and so forth. So now we will go back to page 9 of the sadhana and we will make the offerings. Om Sarva Tatagata Vaishaje Guru Bendurya Prabharadzaya Saparivara Agam Pajem Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nude Shabda Pratichaunso. And so remember that when we send out those deities of the offerings to make the offerings, they come back to us and make offerings to us as the medicine Buddha. Yeah. So why do we do it like this? Because it wouldn't be appropriate if you as the medicine Buddha made offerings to yourself as the medicine Buddha. So for this purpose, right, the offering goddesses have to go out. So now we go to page 9. Can we get the sadhana on the screen? Just so folks can follow along. Yeah. So just go to page 9. There's a praise. Down a little bit. Down a tone. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's where we are. Yes.
Tuje kunla nyombe chondende zensam debe ngenjo dunge se dusu nese sangye menge la bendur yagi hela chause lo tag ngak roa
ya tambo noji de esa roa
yeah kare
tumunde mande shut corona duaste noji masai.
Right. Yeah. So now we'll go to perform the mantra recitation. So if you just scroll downwards, there we go. Yep, right there. Upon a moon disk at your heart, surrounding the seed syllable, is a rotating mantra garland from which light rays radiate. These make offerings to the holy beings and achieve the welfare of sentient beings. All the compassion, blessings, energy, and spiritual power of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is brought forth in the aspect of light rays. These dissolve into you. So now we'll recite the mantra a little bit together. Teata om bekanza maha bekanza ranza samangati so. Teata om bekanza maha bekanza ranza samangati so. Teata om bekanza maha bekanza ranza samangati so. The short mantra. Teata om bekanza maha bekanza ranza samangati so. So one of the visualizations you can do here as you recite the mantra, right? We imagine that we are medicine Buddha with the hum surrounded by the mantra garland at our heart. We can imagine that this hum within us and all sentient beings within us, we think particularly of our mother and father, and then all sentient beings gathered within us, so they're very small, they are seated underneath this hum. And as we recite, this hum emanates light rays and nectar that blesses all these sentient beings within us. So Geshe said that he wants to, so maybe we'll go back to the screen so folks can see Geshe. So he wants to just share a couple of points about different ways of thinking as we recite this mantra. Lamni. So for those of us who are practicing a Kriya Tantra such as this one, it's important to understand that a Kriya Tantra sort of has two paths embedded within it. And these are known as the two yogas, the yoga with signs and the yoga without signs. And in fact, of the yoga with signs and the yoga without signs, it is ultimately the yoga without signs that helps us really traverse the complete path to liberation. So then, as we come to the practice of the yoga with signs, as we come to the practice of the yoga with signs, Gonda karere? Duje, sen di na kyoria la temba la ni yere what? Oh, depa dami depa. Yeah. So then there is the yoga, the yoga depending on recitation and the yoga not depending on recitation. And when we are engaging in the yoga depending on recitation and reciting the mantra, then we want to have in mind the four aspects of the recitation, the four aspects of the recitation. Right. Dagi jila jolwa, jengi jila jowa, sengi jila jowa, drawi jila jowa. Right. So Geshe, we're just making sure we had these correct, but I do have them written. I'm supposed to keep the notes sometimes, right? I do have the notes here. So they are the recitation fixed on the self, the recitation fixed on others, the recitation fixed on the mind, and the recitation fixed on sound. So the first of these four branches, fixed on the self, it means fixed on the self in terms of oneself as the deity, in terms of oneself as the self-generation. And then the recitation fixed on others or based on others, this is the form of oneself as the deity, in this case Medicine Buddha. You imagine that from your heart a replica deity is emanated to the space in front of you. A replica deity is emanated to the space in front of you. So this is Jengi Jila Jolwa. So it's fixed on others. Right. And so Geshe said, remember, as we are the self-generation arising, and as we arise this replica deity in front, right? This is all the form aspect of the mind apprehending emptiness. This is very important. And so then we imagine that this mind of emptiness further contemplates Dunke Dila Dawi Kilkorwa. And then as we contemplate emptiness further, in that replica deity that we have emanated, a moon disk appears at the heart. A moon disk. And so this is actually the third of these four, which is fixed on
mind. Fixed on mind.
This one, that did in the Matricapatella, Daijal.
And then, finally, we imagine that upon, in that replica front deity, upon that moon disk, which is a manifestation of that mind thinking of emptiness, there appears the letters of the mantra. Ngakcheng, Jadang Nyamdurwa, Jaijen La. And so this mantra emanates sound, and so this fourth one is known as fixed on sound. But Geshe is saying it's really fixed on the letters of the mantra and the sound. So I just want to give you the names of these four again, as I realize we went kind of fast. So, fixed on self is the first one. Fixed on others is the second one. Fixed on mind, so that's the one associated with the moon disk, that's the third one. And fixed on sound, as in letters and sound of the mantra, that's the fourth one. Loso. Yeah. And so then, having engaged in these four fixings of the self, others, mind, and sound, we now engage in the pranayam practice. So this is sometimes called the breath retention or vitality retention practice. Sokso. Yeah. So this breath retention is actually done on the basis of the replica that you generated in front. As you focus on the front generation, the moon, the mantra, and so forth, one is going to begin to hold and manipulate the breath. And as we hold the breath, and as we try to control the breath, what we imagine then is that within our own body, we empty the right and left channels of prana, and we bring that prana, that wind, into the central channel. And when we get tired of that breath holding, when we can't hold it any longer, you can release the breath, and then you take a moment to just to just return your attention to yourself as the self generation. So that's how we'll think. So those are some contemplations you can do as we continue reciting. So remember how this happens. One is in the form of medicine Buddha. From the whom at one's heart there emerges a replica medicine Buddha that appears in the space in front and is facing you. And remember that the wisdom realizing emptiness, right, the aspect of the mind apprehending emptiness appears as a very subtle form, which is the moon disk at the heart of this deity in front of us. And then the next one, fixed on sound, we imagine that at that moon disk at the heart of the front generation is Medicine Buddha's mantra garland. So then, sort of doing the pranayam, the breath retention, holding the breath, we can do a mental recitation of the mantra. So recite the mantra just mentally. Yeah, so Geshe said this means that the mantra is not being uttered, right? This is happening in the mind.
소소 라이 거들면 해야지.
So breathe out, release the breath retention, return your focus back to yourself as the self-generation.
원주 치 테네레 소소도네 당게테 노지 메네 돼야지.
Again.
원주 소소도네 미사스타서요와 지지바치죠 대양마무지.
So then what we can do is breathe in again, hold the breath, do the breath retention, return your focus to that front generation, and mentally recollect to recite the mantra, mentally.
갈레 가서나 갈레 칸에 위도 많이 나르는 파사 갈레 바도 소소 라텔서 노 소소 타마바텔 소노토네 올레레 돼야
다히디 파자.
야야 세시워스 우 바도 송아스
Yeah.
아니 소소 다 헬레줘야 돼 라마이 마치 소소 타마바텔 텔레 소노토네.
And so at the end of this practice, which is known as the four-branched recitation, when you do your sort of final exhalation, you can actually also relax your awareness of the self-generation and just abide for a moment in your ordinary form to relax.
오야 아디스.
Disana.
당와서 또 쳔보니제 스테문다와니 로송아스 미소자에데 소소랄르 메네틀레데야.
Yeah.
소소 타마발로 소노토니 렐레데 미소자에데.
So there's sort of two ways in this practice of doing the four-branch recitation of resting. Relaxing the breath and returning to an awareness of the self-generation, and a kind of another relaxation, even relaxing the self-generation and just abiding in your ordinary form for a moment.
디송아 오타 과야데 쪼다 릴라보도야 마레스 칼미야 단데니오 템보 이러와 아니 로마도 좀 루칸가 바꿔게 하세요. 그 소노도.
Yeah. Then kanesla goreti sa uma yongyagi cheti.
저 테마도 로마도 좀 루카야 되라 수소 돈바스.
Yeah. So this practice of sokso, which I've translated here as pranayama, but I've also seen it translated as breath retention, vitality exertion. There's different ways it's translated. The purpose of this really is to try to empty out the winds of the right and left channels and bring the winds, the prana, exclusively into the central channel. That's the purpose.
된다 가르세는 가르 소스터는 노예는 처음에 저 노도시에 루칸가 바꿔니라. 다 지금 세 템보치네 다 보자.
And in Kriya, the purpose of this is to stop the winds moving around, because the winds are the mount of minds, and then the winds and the minds go to distracting objects. So when we control the winds in this way, it stops the prana from flowing to those discursive thoughts. It stops our distraction.
다 조조시네디야 조이사레스 다 드리수기와레스 조시네디 세 템보디야 되나.
So Geshe said, in this context, in his opinion, the main purpose of the practice is for shine, for calm abiding. That's the reason. Yeah, and ideally, if we're also contemplating that emptiness aspect, it would be that shamatha, the calm abiding, combined with vipassana, special insight or emptiness. And then there is another method of reciting the mantra. Sorry. So I wanted to give you the names of the four-branch recitation again, because I saw in my notes I gave an alternative translation. It's maybe clear, so I'm just going to read those off really quickly. Number 1, incline to self as object. So Number 2, incline to others as the object. Number 3, incline to mind as object, so that's the moon disc. And number 4, incline to sound as object, that's the moon disc and mantra loski.
Oh yeah, I want that tangi tenuji yo so much DJ yolaji tsui tini dalata tangi kes wasla tenuji.
Junla yorerwa. So then for this next one, we also imagine that there is a front generation of the deity just in the space before us, just like we did with the 4-branch recitation.
Tal tema agosonga. Uitsi tema dal yoke dawa do mate do jibade udonyondol sosoni kal sileso.
Dunchenerwa. So here, as we breathe in, we imagine that the moon disc and the mantra in the front generated deity's heart leave out the front generated deity's mouth, enter our mouth, and dissolve into us. Having visualized that, we then focus on the mental recitation, so not uttering, reciting in your mind.
Kale kane kanoni matowa nagununu patowa do nyondole yon ludu nyondola dawa mate te pando nim doji tukalpa roso so
Dunkela tim, right?
Mare page tukal.
Yeah, nganso tuka ngak trengdang dawa di rwa nganso kane padro dene dunkela matim.
Nagununu pa kane mai.
Sorry, nakung ne padro dene dunkela matim.
Yeah.
So as we exhale, we imagine that the moon and mantra garland at our heart is the self-generation. They come up, they leave through our nostrils, and they absorb into the deity in front, and then into the moon disc and mantra at the front deity's heart. So this is another way to do a visualization combined with what we know as the mental recitation, right? The mental recitation of the mantra. So Geshe was saying, you see how the flow works, right? First, coming from the front deity into yourself as you inhale and holding it there. Then, as you inhale, that moon disc and that mantra go up through your nostrils and dissolve into the deity in front. So it's back and forth. And so Geshe said that you can consider this visualization like an auxiliary practice of number 4 of the 4-branch recitation, inclined to sound as the object, because Geshe said, remember that with the sound are also the letters of the mantra. Yeah. You get jala mipa. Yeah. Right. So we're going to shift our focus from the visual syllables of the mantra to the sound of the mantra itself. And so this involves the same sort of ourselves as the self-generation and the same front generation that we did for the 4-branch practice. So then, rather than focusing on the letters of the mantra here, just focus on the mantra abiding as sound. Dunchela jadi, right? So just focus on that front, but what we imagine is that the sound of the mantra is emanating at our garland as the self-generation. So Geshe said, just focus on the sound, but don't utter. It's mental. So just think as you do that mental recitation of the mantra, that however you conceive of that sound of the mantra, that sound fills your mind. It's your object of focus. So
Tell
we'll pause it there.
Tell Rini Yares.
Mhm.
Tell me Batella.
Yeah.
So the Rina.
Yeah.
Yigasapa, Masa Chibores.
Yeah, 하고서.
Ani, so Madonna,
Mhm.
so Kale Kanin de Chuyares.
든죠 눈이 줘요.
Kale, Yachu.
And so Geshe said that, hopefully you can also see that there are different ways of doing the mantra recitation. So especially if you are combining it with this pranayam, right, with the breath retention or the vitality exertion, you are just focusing on a mental recitation of the mantra. But if you are not combining it with a breath retention, right, you can do the visualization with a very soft uttering of the mantra if you like.
Oh, yeah, that's what this that's what the cheating on the Talele.
So then we So Geshe asked me to give you the 3 concentrations, the 3 samadhi practice, and we're just going to do one of them. So I'm just going to give you the names. It's the concentration abiding in fire, the concentration abiding in sound, and the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound. Abiding in fire, abiding in sound, bestowing liberation at the end of sound.
Oh, yeah, that's also last year. They didn't longer to call Hoy Tiche. That tell a mail on Mari Dianoni, when you get up again.
Not change. So then we'll do the first of these. So direct your attention to yourself as the self-generation. Then at the heart there is the hum. And then this hum letter is surrounded by a ring of fire, within which appear the letters of the mantra.
Megan Nolo, what tell me in David Gould, that's said to Lutel Pashun Roya, they should cheer when may take a living no, that's or maybe necessary in about Sumazo was so to.
So we can imagine as we focus, we imagine this mental recitation, we imagine the mantra circle surrounded by fire, then we imagine that we bring the wind, the prana, into the central channel, and as the wind increases, the fire blazes ever more strongly. The fire blazes and completely fills our body, burning away negativities, obscurations, obstacles, and their imprints.
No, Kale, wanted the Jibo Mayan, but he tell it data by Sonotoni, tell a man Sonotoni.
And then we can pay attention not just to the visual image of that mantra abiding in fire, but we can also imagine that it emanates the sound. Jesus.
Tama so that I so that say, she cheshu tell it, the jigger meadow, what tredo, Magi, Datu Kangalolo, Deni Tabajima, the Zuza, Deni Rujita, Deni me.
So as we come to the end of this contemplation, the most powerful understanding that we can bring forth is that the sound of the mantra, the form of the mantra, whether it is abiding in the fire and so forth, that none of these sounds, none of these images exist inherently. If we were to try to find a pinpointable essence, we would not be able to find it. 그래서 죽답죠.
야, 다 대지 강가 다 이내서는 연락 손을 대지 강가 좀 그거 다 소소 주도 잡아서 따로 지스.
So Geshe is just sharing with you that if you want to practice Kriya Tantra, it should actually encompass all of these fundamental aspects. So you need to be a little bit, a little bit pushy, a little bit nosy about the Kriya Tantra practice and investigate and incorporate yourself. So he realizes there's a lot there. There's many aspects to the practice, right? So it might be overwhelming, but you start with a little bit and expand out. Yes, so we'll close the sadhana now. So we'll go to page 10 of the sadhana, and we'll make the offerings and then recite the Vajrasattva mantra. Om Sarva Thatagata Vaishaje Guru Bendurya Prabharajaya Sapariwara Agam Bhajem Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nude Pratichahum Swaha. So we'll recite the Vajrasattva mantra to purify. Om Benza Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Benza Sattva Tenapatita Jidame Bhava Sudagaya Me Bhava Subhagaya Me Bhava Anurata Me Bhava Savasiddhi Me Prayasa Savakama Sutame Sisanchiyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Benza Mame Mutsa Benza Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Te. And we'll just do the first 2 verses requesting forgiveness as we go down. Whatever I have done or caused to be done that was unprepared or degenerated or done with my deluded mind, please be patient with all of these. Whatever beings of this degenerate age have done of lesser merit mixed with ignorant delusions that did not fulfill the Arya's wishes, please be patient with these as well. And we come now to the, I think we'll go straight. Yeah, we'll go to the praise at the bottom of page 12. Tuje kunla nyombe chomdende zenzam debe ngenjo dungeze duzu neze sangye menge la bendo yayi hela jazelo. And then the dedication. Gewa di nyo du da so usual dedications. Jang jo sem jo rembo che ma je pa nam che jo ji je wa nyam ba me ba yo gone gondu pe wa sho tong ni ta wa rembo che ma je pa nam che jo ji je wa nyam ba me ba yo gone gondu pe wa sho Jambe bao jida jamba dang kundu zambo de an de jende de da kungi jesu dalo je gewa di da tangje radu ngo de sun shebe gewa tamje gi ngowa gangla jodu nga ba de da gi gewe tsawa di gun kyong zambo jeji radu ngowa gi gangri rawe korwe Jingandi, Pendant de wa malu jongwe ne, Chenre ziwan denze jasoye, Shape side bardo tenjoshi.
Lo tamalentan, lenge dito kangapa, somazun taya poshu soma.
So think that as the year comes to a close, any negativities or mistakes we may have made, we've been able to excellently purify.
뭐게 뭐죠 내가 도와지 주가 강가 파션 강가 대식이 녀마샤 쇼라.
So think that myself and others, through the merits that we have accumulated and through the blessings of the medicine Buddha, may all of the wars, conflicts, diseases, environmental degradation, and so forth that bring suffering to six types of sentient beings be completely cleared away. May the sun of happiness shine on all beings without discrimination.
로 사바도 이나 이제 부수비 절 도야 제도 리지간이 뭐 센지간이 로조도 놀래 타시베다 놀래 절 도마지.
Think that through receiving these blessings, then as this new year comes forth, I have the blessing to be able to better achieve the welfare of others. I have the blessing to be able to clear away all of my mental and physical suffering. So we'll pause there. So we thought we would close today. So Abhilash, if you could turn off the live stream just for privacy, and then if people would like to share some names with Geshe and all of us assembled here, anybody who's sick